Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Live on Friday, the 11th of April, 2025. I'm your host, Abdul Akbar, and we're beaming out to the good people of Luton and surrounding areas tonight, and also to the good people of Sheffield, Nottingham, Derby, Peterborough, and Nottingham, and the Midlands through our partner stations across the nation. Good evening to everyone tuning in right now. Of course, we're beaming out, but we're also on YouTube and Facebook Live, so welcome to all of you visually watching us as well. And in the studio, joining me every week, including today, is Zafar Saab. Assalamu alaikum, Zafar Saab. Zafar Saab, how has your week been? Because I've got to say, it's been crazy in terms of world economics and politics.
Yes, it's been watching the world go up and down, I guess, in terms of hopes and expectations
and money.
And money, that's right. many people making money, many losing money, but lots of threats being.
Did you lose any money?
Yes.
You took a deep breath there. I think this is it, right? This crazy man, the world's most powerful nutcase, right? And you've got the world's most powerful nutcase, and you've got the world's most richest nutcase in the same White House, right?
That's right.
And it's a recipe for disaster. And I think, Zafar Saab, the cracks are starting to show with this Trump administration, right?
There's massive demonstrations today, anti-Trump and Musk. Demonstrations
all over the world, right?
All over the world,
and people are just getting fed up. I think so-called allies are starting to get fed up across Europe, France, Germany, even the UK. Even though you got to admit that Keir Starmer played it very cool. I mean, I like the UK stance. They weren't having this kind of amygdala hijack where you fight or flight. I mean, very, very, very British stance where we're going to play this cool. We know what we're dealing with here. We've had version 1 of Trump. We know what happened there. We're not going to fall into any traps where he has a vendetta against us. And we've seen what happens if you have a vendetta or you say harsh things, because China now is the recipient of 125% tariff.
They've upset him. Although I think one of the commentators was saying today, after a certain percentage, right, it doesn't matter. So it could be 1,000%, right? But it's no longer, I think after about 40%, it was no longer viable for Chinese companies to invest in America. Or buy anything from America, so might as well be 1,000, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a very tactical process what he's doing. He wants people to come to the negotiating table to get a more favorable deal. So you just make the existing deal so unfathomable that the other party has no choice but to say, listen, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, and you settle for something in between. But America always wins is the plan. But what do you reckon, listeners? What's your take on what's been going on in the US, in the global economy? And also locally as well, because on tonight's program, we've got an action-packed show. In fact, what we're going to be talking about is not Donald Trump. Everyone's seen the news. I'm sure many of us have been monitoring the news over the past week, and we've seen the ups and downs of the economy. It's been like a roller coaster, right? Honestly, there's probably not a roller coaster in Thorpe Park or Alton Towers that can represent.
We will talk about roller coaster as well.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah, I like the connection there, Zafar Saab, because coming up in about half an hour's time, listeners, we are going to be talking about the new Universal theme park that has just been announced this week by the Prime Minister and by Comcast, that's the owner of Universal, that a new theme park is going to be opening up, none other in our very own county, Bedfordshire, right next to the town of Bedford. In fact, talking to us in about half an hour's time, we're going to be speaking to a couple of local residents in Bedford to find out what their thoughts are, what the locals think about having a massive international theme park open up on their doorstep. Is that a good thing or not so good thing? And also, we're going to be talking about more locally here in Luton, what that airport expansion is going to look like. If you haven't heard, Luton Airport has been vying for expansion for the last few years. They've been going through lots of hoops and hurdles. There's been a massive study undertaken in terms of environmental and impact, et cetera, in the area, including economic. And I'm happy to be joined by the managing director of Luton Rising. That's the company that runs the airport and lots of other things around the airport. And also the leader of Luton Council, Hazel Simmons, is going to be joining us as well in about half an hour's time. But right now, I want to go into a really important topic.
Yeah.
And this is a topic that a lot of us might not be familiar with. And we want to give this some focus on Friday Night Live and Inspire FM, because many of you may not have heard of the Filton 18. Hopefully some of you have. If you're in tune with the news and what's going on in the community, you may have heard about the Filton 18. But tonight on the show, we're diving into a powerful and controversial story that's been making headlines and sparking debate across the country. And we're talking about, of course, the Filton 18, a group of activists who basically took direct action against a weapons factory in Filton, in Bristol, here in the UK, in protest against its alleged links to the Israeli military and the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Their arrest and subsequent treatment, that's the Filton 18, they were detained under counter-terror law and held for months without trial. And they've raised serious questions about the right to protest, the right of the use of state powers, and also the double standards some are claiming in activism. Now, joining us now is a representative from the campaign to support the Filton 18, here to share their side of the story, the motivations behind the protest, and also what they believe this case says about freedom, justice, and state accountability. And we're joined by Sister Anne on the line right now. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thanks for joining us.
We're
really grateful for your time, sister. And also, my understanding is that you're the mother of 5 children, the eldest one being Zahra. And Zahra is actually one of the Filton 18. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, there you go. So let me start by asking you this, and if I may.
So that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. And for those tuning in right now, in fact, I think we've got our other guest on the line as well. Let me go ahead and introduce her as well. She is Shamima Begum Alim. I'm assuming not that Shamima Begum that we're familiar with maybe from the stories of Syria, but another Shamima Begum Alim. She's a dedicated activist for human rights in Palestine, and she's a proud sister of the Filton 18 political prisoner Kamran Ahmed, and she's also the secretary of Palestine Solidarity Campaign in Ipswich and Suffolk. Assalamu alaikum, Shamima. Thanks for joining us. Let's try to get you off mute, hopefully, and get your sound sorted. Oh, there you are. I can hear you now.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for allowing me to join.
Thanks for joining us. We're very grateful for you joining us. Better late than never. But let me ask you this, Shamima, if I may start with you, in fact, and so that you can articulate for those who may be hearing about this for the first time. I'm talking about the Filton 18. Who are the Filton 18, and what exactly happened during the action at the weapons factory in Filton? Can you just give us a bit of a background story there, please?
Yeah, of course. So the Filton 18 originally was the Filton 10. So it was all based around an alleged action that took place at the beginning of August at an Elbit site based in Filton. And Filton
so Elbit are a weapons manufacturer, is that correct?
So Elbit is a Israeli weapons manufacturing company. It provides, I think, almost 80% of the weapons, and they are made on UK soil and then shipped from here, obviously to be used in the devastating attacks that we've seen in Palestine. One of the things that they produce here is the drones. So if anyone's seen recently, there was a drone attack during Ramadan where a drone had entered into a masjid after iftar and had attacked people that were there during iftar, and there was a vivid image of a child holding his food and his water bottle, afraid for his life, as the drone started shooting at people within the mosque. So these are the kind of weapons that our loved ones have been alleged to have gone in and broke. On the beginning of August, 6 of them were caught on site. So 6 individuals were caught breaking the weapons, and then they were arrested on site and then released the following day. And then they were rearrested under counter-terror powers. Post that, it then launched a campaign for the counter-terror powers to basically seek more people. And then in November, they had a second wave of arrests, which is where mine and Anne's loved ones were involved. So my brother was arrested in the second wave in November. And yes, all of this allegedly because they had gone into this weapons factory to destroy these weapons so they can't be sent, and upholding international law at the time. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very clear. And let me go to you. So you have a daughter, is that correct? That's been caught up in this situation. How is she doing right now? And have you heard from her?
Yeah, so she has been now, she's coping okay, but of course she has been on remand, and she won't be tried before May 2026 minimum, because of those counterterrorism connection they have. They are trying to connect to the case, and so we feel it's really an unfair treatment just for allegedly having been on site. So yes,
Very
that's
strange.
the
Yeah, it's very
situation.
strange. Let me take this as Zafar for a second. Zafar, just hearing from our two guests, it is a bit strange because it's a bit far-fetched. At least I don't know the detail and the crux of this case, just kind of like from a headline perspective, but it seems a bit far-fetched that they're using counter-terrorism legislation against seemingly ordinary people that have just done exercised their right to protest.
Yeah, I guess the legal fraternity will have a view on that, but it does seem a little bit draconian, to be honest, using counter-terrorism. And I think you have to ask, how are these, who decides and how are these decided? And by the time due process takes place, have people's rights been violated? They've been inside for a period of time before it decided that the use of those particular powers was unwarranted. But I guess the legal fraternity, the people who are representing them, should be well aware of these and should be pursuing them to the full. We are living in a country which prides itself by living by rule of law. And rule of law is something that I think we all aspire to and all try to live by. And if we don't, we end up in a situation where some of the people in the Middle East are, where arbitrary arrests are made.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm wondering how much of this is kind of like the leftovers from the old conservative government and their time in office, because they took a very, very hard line and a very pro-Israeli right-wing line.
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think this government is any different, to be honest.
You reckon Keir Starmer's the same?
Keir Starmer is very much the same. They're the only difference.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the only difference I see really is that he's got in his cabinet people who are a lot more.
David Lammy. I mean, David Lammy has said some pro-Palestinian stuff of late.
I have no respect for David Lammy, right? Because he has actually betrayed his background, he's betrayed his roots, and he's said things basically because he's been asked to say those things. I don't think he's a man, right, that would actually uphold standards.
But okay, fair enough. That's your view. But I do respect the fact that in Parliament recently he did stand up and effectively said that Israel has broken, international law, which I think was unheard of in Parliament by the government.
Because the fraternity that backs him are of that view.
Is that your new word, fraternity, for today? You're using that word a lot.
Well, yeah, the people who support the section of the Labour Party.
All right, but I think we got to give credit where credit is due. I hear you about the Labour Party. I hear you about Keir Starmer, and I know the position. I take the same position, which is Keir Starmer should have been a lot more vocal when he was in opposition, when he was in a position about the Palestinian atrocities that were taking place, and he could have been a lot more vocal, especially about ceasefire. Instead, they softened their language so they could get into power. Now they're in power. Maybe there's more they could do. But let me go back to our guests. Let me go back to Shamima, if I may. Shamima, thanks for staying there with us. Let me ask you this question. As we've been talking about, the Filton 18, the group, has been held under counter-terror legislation. Now, can you tell us how that has impacted their treatment and access to justice compared to just standard criminal charges? I mean, has that impacted the way they get justice from your perspective?
Yes. And I'm just going to touch on a few points that you guys just discussed in relation to these particular charges that have been brought against our loved ones. None of them are terrorism charges. So all of them are just what I would say common law. So things that you would expect, like criminal damage and violent disorder. And these are just the common laws that have been applied. And then at the end, they've put with a potential terrorism connection. And that goes to show that there isn't actually a terrorism charge on it. But now our loved ones are being treated under these counter-terror powers. Now, what does that mean for them? It means some of our loved ones are being visited by prevent officers. It means their books are being denied. It's taken us ages to make sure their books get received. There's a lot of withholding of letters and documents. So my brother, there was periods where he wasn't receiving any letters. Just recently, I was able to get my visits approved. It's taken us almost over 4 weeks since he moved to Pentonville to get the visits approved. And all of this, you've got to wonder, why are they keeping, it's now coming up to 6 months for the loved ones that got arrested in November. And for the loved ones that got arrested in August, it's coming up to 9 months. And the law in this country is the custodial time for remand is 6 months. Now, under the counter-terror legislation, what they can do is they can apply for an extension, and they can keep applying for an extension. And that means our loved ones are kept inside. So my brother is not due to be on trial for another 18 months. That means 18 months he's inside. That's almost like he's served a sentence. So when at the end of this, he's not found guilty and they can't prove that he did anything, or the jury finds him not guilty, he would have done a sentence anyways. And that's what they want. I pose you a question. You spoke about Keir Starmer. There was documents that came out of a leaked meeting that he had with Elbit in December. The same month, our loved ones were remanded into custody and denied bail. Now, I want people to ponder on what could have that meeting been about. It was a secret meeting, and under the Freedom of Information Act, we could only find out it was a meeting, and they wouldn't disclose what was said in the meeting to keep international relations. And so, yeah, I would say, like, it's dramatically affected our loved ones in terms of how long they're inside and the denial of their bail, despite, in the case of my brother, he was said that he's got weak circumstantial evidence, but they continue to want to keep him in bail, even though the first second bail application he got was approved by a very senior judge, and then it got appealed to High Court.
Makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. And it clearly sounds like, from your perspective and the point of view of the families that are affected here, Keir Starmer and the government clearly are not doing enough to raise this and fix it and resolve this, because from what you're describing from, the people that are affected, these are just ordinary people, practicing their right to protest. But Shamima, let me ask you this question, if I may, which is, as we all know, there has been a strong public response, people who are familiar with this matter, either for the Filton 18 or against, both support and criticism. How do you respond to those who say the protest tactics in this case went too far and were just unlawful, and this is why they are being incarcerated like this?
I asked them, how far would you go to save a life? How far would you go to save a portion of humanity that we're watching being destroyed day in, day out? And the destruction continues after, let's say, a very bad ceasefire that wasn't really a ceasefire, that continued to kill Palestinian lives. And they're still being destroyed now. Our loved ones are deeply compassionate and empathetic human beings who, even whilst in prison, their concerns are, how are the Palestinian people? Are the movement for the Palestinians, is it continuing to grow? There's criticism, but you know what? I've seen arrests not just of what this type of action in particular, but we've seen arrests of protesters. We've seen arrests under counter-terrorism law of just people giving a speech. And that goes to show that the state and the policing system is against us supporting Palestine. And with that, it means all of us should rise together rather than causing division within the people that care about the liberation of our brothers and sisters in Palestine.
Thanks for sharing that. And I can definitely feel the emotion in your voice and the impact it's having on you, even in this interview. So we really appreciate you sharing that perspective. So Anne, let me go to you, sister, about your situation. Are you hopeful that your daughter hopefully will have her case heard and will be released very soon without charge? Do you feel like things will go in her direction? Without sharing anything confidential, do you feel the legal team have a strong case for your daughter?
Yes, we saw the defense at the last hearing was extremely strong and gave amazing arguments. And I saw in front of my eyes the misuse of the law and how the judge seems to totally blank those arguments and just read a script. So I'm very concerned about the justice system of this country, and if we don't speak up now for our right to express our views and to fight for truth and freedom of people, what is going to be next?
Absolutely. I hear what you're saying. Zara, let me get your reactions to what you've heard so far from our guests. What goes to your mind? Do you feel like this is an abuse of anti-terror laws? It definitely smells like something fishy is going on here.
It smells like it, to be honest, right? I guess you need to look at the cases in detail. And I'm pretty sure that the legal team are looking at the cases in detail. We are assured in this country that due process takes place, right? And we have trust in our legal system because of that. And there are cases like this when they come out, and you question, is there something happening beyond what's actually supposed to happen? Is there conversations happening in the background? Is there law being interpreted by a particular way? Because ultimately, who holds the power to deliver, to actually put people away, or is actually the force, the government, the police, etc. And when you hear things like that, and you think, well, is there a set of laws for one set of people and another laws for another set of people that's been applied?
But people are listening to what you're saying, and maybe even what Sister Shamima was just saying there. They'll be saying, you guys are full of conspiracy theories. If you're not allowed to protest, and what has been going on practically every week up and down the country since this so-called war started, people have had the right to protest, and they have been protesting. And some people, it could be argued, have abused that right to protest because they've been showing symbols and messaging.
I hear that view.
Yeah.
I hear that view, and sometimes.
So we have had a right to protest.
Yeah,
though, in this
sometimes.
Country, right?
So in cases where I guess people go beyond what's expected, like breaking into private property, etc. There are laws, and people who do that take a calculated risk, and that calculated risk means that they are done for, breach of property, etc.
But terrorism.
But that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
terrorism, right? I think goes beyond. This is where I think it seems a little bit sort of unusual.
Yeah.
That maybe there are
like a sledgehammer versus.
Maybe there are mechanisms in place or conversations that are happening to deter these type of things from happening by overstepping the mark in terms of the accusations and the arrests, etc. and putting people away for a long time.
And
but I have a feeling that the people who are doing this, right?
Yeah.
They are very passionate, right? They care about humanity, right? They care about people. And it will take a lot more, right, than putting people away for 6 months, right, to deter these people. I can tell you that.
I hear you. Let me go back to our guests for the final word on this topic. So, Sister Shamima, let me let you have the final word here, which is, what are the next steps in the legal process, and how can people who are listening that have been affected by what you've been saying get involved and show their support as well? You're on mute, by the way, Shamima. Just take you off mute. Thank you.
Our loved ones are just ordinary people. And in our loved ones, you should be able to see yourself, your brother, your sister, even a cousin. And all we need you to do is to support us like family would, is to turn up to the court demos. So we announce these court dates on our Instagram page. So please turn up and come in solidarity to support us and show them that we are watching. And that's the main thing, because some people are saying it's conspiracy, but is it conspiracy when we're noticing the signs? But if people are watching, then it will make people feel, actually, maybe we need to take different steps and procedures. And that's what we need. We need the public to be keeping an eye on this. There's petitions to sign, and I would highly recommend following the Instagram page on Free the Filton 18, and it links to our petition, which has got over 50,000 signatures already. And write to your MP. My local MP has taken the initiative to write to the Home Secretary, asking for a review of this case and asking for any political interference from international foreign bodies to be announced in regards to this particular Filton 18 case.
Good luck with asking the Luton MPs. They're useless. They won't even come on this show because they just don't want to. They don't want to. I feel like the Luton MPs, both Luton North and South, they don't want to come anywhere near the Muslim community. I don't know why they are MPs for the whole of Luton. I don't think they are. If I'm wrong, I would love to have them on this show and speak about topics such as this. But Shamima, thank you for sharing your story, and Anne as well. Thank you for sharing your story. We hope things are resolved in a fair way, and that you get to spend a lot more time with your loved ones, and of course they're released without any situation, because from what I can hear, from what I've read about this particular case, they were just exercising their right to protest in a very hands-on way, which other organizations do and other people do, and they don't get charged for terrorism offenses. So it's quite scary stuff. But thank you for joining us. All the best with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. All right, listeners, this is Friday Night Live with me, Abdul Akbar, and Zafar Iqbal. We're going to take a very short break in a moment. Coming up after the break, of course, we're going to be talking about the Luton Airport expansion. And also we'll be talking about the new Universal Studios theme park that's going to open up in Bedford. This is Friday Night Live. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.